Oh, hello. Right now it says nobody's here, but I don't know because sometimes that number is not accurate. But I do need to go ahead and get started because I'm going to have to go pick Selena up in just a little bit. And the replay is always here. So, or at least as long as YouTube lets it be there, it'll be there. And I do have the playlist. So, I guess first I want to start off with going over a little bit about what we talked about last week. Also, I'm going to have to probably leave just a few minutes earlier than what I normally do because Selena gets off work at 3 and I've got to go pick her up, which is not that far, but still. Anyway, so last week we talked about keepers of the home and what it meant to be a keeper of the home. And the one of the things that I had really that stood out to me and the things that whenever I was writing the things is the keeper of the home is the one who's protecting the home, not necessarily protecting it like, the head of the household would, but you're making sure everyone is taken care of and has the things they need and some of the things they want. And that you are the one who is along with the head of the household, or who knows, you may be both, keeping the things that are not of God out of the home. So I want to go ahead and get started on what I'm going to talk about today. I had a whole different thing that I was going to be doing, which actually I got a late start with studying this week because I just couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. And I kept going back and forth. And then I just finally said, you know what? I'm just going to talk about mothers because Mother's Day is coming up in a few days. So let's just talk about mothers. So I went and I was doing some research and stuff, like, studying the Bible, what we do to get ready for a Bible study. And then this morning I read my devotion. I do a devotion on YouVersion, which now it's just the Bible app. I do one every morning, and I was doing one on marriage, and it was called Dealing with Me. And I've been doing that one. Is like a 5-day little devotion, and something in it today hit me. I have not gotten the mail yet, but I have not checked today to see if I've gotten it, Carol. But something in this devotion today, it hit me, and I totally changed what I was going to do. I was going to talk about mothers. I had lots of scriptures about mothers. And I was just going to talk about mothers from the standpoint of Psalms and Proverbs, which I can do later. I've still got my stuff. But this hit me pretty hard in a way, not like made me feel guilty, but made me think, wow, that is a lot. That's something that we don't think about. And I know that I have heard people say, well, if you don't forgive others, because today's talking about forgiveness, that's what we settled on. If you don't forgive others, you're hurting yourself. But there was a part in this devotion today that made me think differently about even more of what it means whenever you don't forgive others. Because I've heard people say, well, if you don't forgive others, it's just hurting yourself because they don't care. They don't, they don't know that you didn't forgive them. It's like, whatever. They don't, if you just get out of their life, it doesn't matter. But from what this devotion says and from what the scriptures she has, it does matter. It matters even if you never see that person ever again in your life. And I just want to read part of the devotion. If not, I may read all of it. I don't know. This is just today's. I don't know if you don't have the app, the Bible app. I don't know if you can get this devotion otherwise. But it was about marriage, because I'm always, even though I have a good marriage, I'm always reading things about biblical marriage. I like to do devotions on having a biblical marriage. I'm always working on myself and working on my marriage so that it can stay good, you know? And that's how it's gotten the way it is now, is because we both work on it, we both go to God with it, and we both um you know, we read the Bible and we know what it says, and we learn what it says. And a lot of people will say, well, why are you reading a Bible devotion about marriage? Yours is good. Well, to keep it that way. And I've heard people say, things about buying books that were about Christian marriage, and that, you don't need it if you've got a good marriage. Well, yeah, I think I do, because I want to keep it good, that kind of thing. But I'm going to go ahead and read some of this. And the title on this is, I thought I'd already reached my forgiveness quota. Many years ago, I was teaching. Oh, and the lady's name is Denise Renner. I'm going to do some research and see if I can find her, some more information about her. Let me see if I can find her real quick. And see if I can possibly, well, there's a whole entire website. I don't know if this is for her for sure, but if it is, I will link it afterwards. Okay. So anyway, this is many years ago. I was teaching on forgiveness. A woman minister who was listening to me said, my husband is an alcoholic, and I want you to pray for him to change. I asked, how is your heart toward him? This is what Denise was asking this lady. She continued, it's just terrible what he does all the time. I'm called to serve God, and he is hampering me in this call. But after she heard the teaching on forgiveness, she forgave her husband, and her husband got saved and joined her in the ministry. In the past, her unforgiveness held him in that place of offending her constantly. But her forgiveness helped release him from the trap he was in, and he ended up serving God with her. That's the power you and I have in forgiving others. And I want to talk to you a little bit about my marriage. And this doesn't have to be marriage. Please don't think that this is only about marriage. It's not. It can be a brother sister. It can be a sister sister, brother brother. It can be friends. It can be coworkers. It can be your parents, your uncles, your aunts. It doesn't matter. Another human that you are not forgiving. You may be nice to that person. You may even live with that person. You may not be a horrible person to that person. You may be the most cordial, most loving person ever, but if you are harboring unforgiveness, you are holding them captive. That's what I get from this. That's what I heard whenever I was reading just that little bit. It says, while Jesus was on the cross dying, he said, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing, in Luke 23:34. They blasphemed Jesus by saying, if you're the Son of God, come down from the cross. That's Matthew 27:40. So, and it says, if we had been there hearing them yelling and laughing at him and seeing them gambling for his robe, we might have said, oh, they know what they're doing. But from God's point of view, they were spiritually blind and didn't even know what they were doing. Jesus said it himself, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. And to me, this man who was drinking, he was an alcoholic, he was poisoning himself. He was hurting himself. But he was blind because he had not allowed God to open his eyes yet. But when his wife forgave him for holding her back, even though really, I don't think, this is my thing, this is my thought on this. I don't think that God was holding her back. I don't think her husband was holding her back. I think her not forgiving her husband for his alcoholism was holding her back, and it was keeping her husband from being able to move forward and come to God. And whenever she showed God's love by forgiving, it fixed their marriage. He got saved. He started working in the ministry with her. It changed everything because she showed God's love by forgiving. And it hit me so hard to think that we have that kind of power, that God has given us that kind of power. He has given us the choice. Okay, Val. But he has given us the choice on whether or not we're going to forgive and let ourselves move forward and let that person we are forgiving move forward. And I used to have a lot of thoughts about the way I thought marriage was supposed to be. And I had a lot of unforgiveness toward Jeff that really I should never have had, because the representation of marriage that I had was not biblical. The representation I had was worldly. So that marriage was not what I wanted anyway. So I don't remember. I did a Proverbs 31 Bible study, and that is the thing that kickstarted me to being a better wife and reconciling our marriage and making things the way they are now. And that's why I say stay studying. Even if you have a good marriage, keep doing it, because this was years ago, almost 10 years ago, if not 10 years ago. And it's like that kickstarted it. So when I noticed, when I started forgiving him for things, whenever I started learning that I should forgive him, that is when God started opening doors in my heart to change my heart, to change our marriage. And today, whenever I was reading this devotion, and I don't, like I said, I didn't have much time to plan this, because I was like, oh wow, I need to share this, because I knew if I did not share this today, I probably would forget to share it. And it was like this just dropped in my lap, so to speak. This is what God kind of said, hey, this is what you need to do. So God has given us the power to forgive. And it says here, and I never did think about this, I never thought about what Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And I think, okay, so that means the whole time that I was not living for God, I was blind. Yes, I know that part. But all those horrible things I did, even if they were mostly harmful to me, since I was blind, I didn't know how to get out of it. But, it's like the forgiveness of God changed everything. And if God forgives us, why can't we forgive the other people that have wronged us? So anyway, I want to go ahead and read some more of this. Let me see, where was I at? What does that say about those who offended us? God's perspective on forgiveness is that he doesn't want them to be charged with the sin, and he desires that we ask him to forgive them because they don't know what they're doing. Yes, forgiving yourself. Oh my goodness, that is the hardest part. Val, that is the hardest thing to do, is forgive yourself for the things that you've done. And sometimes I have had this thought that I'm slapping God in the face every time that I don't forgive myself, because he's already forgiven me for that thing. Or every time that I bring that thing back up into my memory about what I did, it's like I may not be talking to anyone else about the sin I committed that God has forgiven me for, but if I bring it back up, if I let it cause me anxiety, if I let it cause me more problems, then I'm like telling God he didn't forgive me in a sense. That's the way it feels sometimes. Because sometimes I feel like, and it's just so stupid, I feel like I need to ask forgiveness for something God has already forgiven me for. Why would I need to ask God to forgive me for something He's already forgiven me for? He forgot it. And it's like a battle in my mind. Satan's way of keeping us in bondage. Yeah, that's true, Val. But it's like those things that I did before, even if it was just yesterday, something I did that it was a sin. If God forgave me for that sin, I don't need to be bringing it back up to Him. I don't need to be bringing it back up to anybody unless I am telling my testimony, unless I am trying to help someone, that kind of thing. If I'm just telling someone, God forgave me for this, he can forgive you. You know what I'm saying? If it's an example of what God has done in my life, it's okay to talk about, but I shouldn't think that I have to ask for forgiveness over and over and over, because He's already done it. He doesn't need to repeat it unless we're repeat offenders, that kind of thing. Let's see. Terrible things happen to people. Humans have the ability to bring great pain to one another. There's physical and sexual abuse to children. There's betrayal, rejection, and thievery, etc. Many people experience great rejection, pain, and hurt, but the debt we owe Jesus is greater than the debt the other person owes us. That hit me so hard. What we owe Jesus for what He did is so much greater than what anybody has ever done to us. Do they owe us a debt if they've wronged us? Yes, they do, but they can't pay. They can't pay that debt. So the only way that the debt can ever be repaid is if we release them, if we forgive them, even if it's our own self, and they allow God to release them. If they go to God and ask forgiveness, because that's the only true forgiveness that can really repay the debt, is Jesus doing what He did. That's the only thing. Nothing else we ever do. We can say, like say I bumped someone in a grocery store and I say, I'm sorry, I know this is trivial, not even a thing that would even matter, but or not, let's just say it's something even worse. Let's just say that Jeff and I got into a fight and I was hateful to him and things. Yeah. He can forgive me. But what the true forgiveness is whenever we reconcile that and we do what God says. And, we have to forgive to release. Like, He releases me from that bondage. I don't even know if I'm making sense, y'all. I really don't. It's just so much that's going on in my head right now, and this headache that I've had for 2 weeks is not helping. Yes, I have started taking allergy medicine, but it's not helping. Pollen is terrible. It's just so much. It's like this little devotion today made me start thinking about so many things that I know that a lot of it Jeff and I have worked through. A lot of things I have forgiven him. He has forgiven me. All that stuff. Okay. But there's a lot of things I have not forgiven me for. I'm holding myself in bondage. Some people are controlled by that little unforgiveness in life, even getting bumped by someone in the grocery store, even if they say sorry. Some people can let it go. Yeah, true. I will bring things back up into my memory, or it'll come up in my mind. I'll remember it. Let's just say it that way. I will remember things that I've done, and I will have such guilt and such. It's like I have to release myself to let God do the work He wants to do. I don't even mention these things to others. I don't talk about them with anyone except God. But those things will come back into my memory and I will hold myself back. even though God has forgiven all of those things, I'm holding myself in bondage. And when Donna was asking about, she was the one that asked me to talk about forgiveness, and I was still trying to figure out how I wanted to do it, because I have a lot of forgiving that I need to do, that is forgiving myself, and I have not figured it. It's like I think I've forgiven myself, and then it'll come back and it'll be like a roller coaster ride. You'll be good for a while, you'll be smooth sailing, just going, and then all of a sudden you just big crazy hill that scares the bejeebs out of you. And I mean, it's like those things, that big hill that I go over, it'll get me for a little while, and I'll have anxiety, and I'll get depressed, and I'll have thoughts that I shouldn't have, because I haven't forgiven myself, even though God has. God has released me, but I won't release myself. And this devotion made me think, I'm stopping myself from going farther in my walk with God. I'm harming my own self because I'm not forgiving myself. And it's just weird that Donna had asked about forgiving, doing a forgiveness and forgiving yourself. And then this little devotion made me think about all this. Let me go ahead and read some more. You can't give your offender the silent treatment or talk negatively about him or her to get payment in full. Well, I don't do that. I find being unforgiving or others or ourselves makes us more critical or judgmental. I can forgive somebody else faster than I can forgive myself. I can forgive somebody else for harming me faster than I can forgive myself. And I don't know why. I don't know why I'm that way. Let's see, you couldn't pay your own debt, and the person who wronged you can't pay his debt to you. Let's see, I already read that. Restoration is God's will. Look at what Jesus did. He came and took our punishment. He paid our debt, and the enmity we had with God was destroyed. And now we have friendship with God. We have relationship with God because Jesus paid our debt. We are restored to God through forgiveness, and we have power to be restored with persons who offended us. You will not flourish in this life if you do not forgive what others have done to you from your heart. Jesus said, but if you do not forgive, neither will your Father in heaven forgive your trespasses. That's Mark 11:26, which I have on the thing. Romans 5:5 admonishes, now hope does not disappoint, because the love of God has been poured out in our hearts by the Holy Spirit who was given to us. Pray. Let's see, that's not part of it. Okay, that's all of that devotion. But my thing is, like, something I used to do, and this is how I know I have actually forgiven Jeff for things, is I used to hold, it was like a little tally of all the things he did, and I would have them all in my memory. And every time we got into an argument, I would bring them all back up. Every one. I could list them. I don't even remember what they are now. And that's how I know I've forgiven him. Are we perfect? No. Do we have arguments? Yes. Usually we can figure out exactly why we argued, what the reason was. Normally it's because we have not slept enough. We have not had enough sleep, or we have not talked enough, something like that. But our arguments are nothing like they used to be. They used to be screaming matches. It was so bad I would throw things at the man. You probably wouldn't think that now, because the person I am now would not throw something at my husband. But the person I was would do those things. We would get into arguments that would last for days. And now it's just like a few minutes, and we're like, wait a minute, what is going on? Well, we need a nap. we need to talk about this. We need to stop this, So that is how I know that I have forgiven him for the past of things. And of course, he's forgiven me too, and I know that. He forgives very easily. Let's see, in the book Humble Roots, she talks about our inability to forgive ourselves is a form of pride. Oh my goodness, Val, you just slapped me in the face. Sounds contradictory, but essentially we're acting like we know better than you just slapped me. I gotta write that book down. I'm not supposed to be buying any more books. So who wrote this? Is it pride? Oh my goodness. Now I want to read it. I never thought about that. Hannah Anderson. I never thought about that it's pride. I don't feel like a prideful person, though. But there's lots of ways that pride comes out. A lot of them. And sometimes I'm afraid that I sound prideful whenever I say that me and my husband don't argue like we used to. But it's not. It's not like we have a perfect marriage. It's not like we don't have disagreements. And I don't want anybody to ever think that we are perfect. But we've come a long way. And I want people to know that part. I do want to go over the scriptures, some of them that she had in the devotion. Matthew 18:21 through 30. Let's see. Where's it at? Then came Peter to him and said, is this right? Yes. Lord, how oft my brother sinned against me, and I forgive him till 7 times? Jesus saith unto him, I say not unto thee until 7 times, but until 70 times 7. Therefore in the kingdom of heaven likened unto a certain king, which would take account of his servants. And when he had begun to reckon, one was brought unto him, which ought him 10,000 talents. I should have got a different one to read. I love the King James, but reading it out loud is hard for me. Talking about you and Jeff now sounds like you're giving God glory for sanctifying you both. Yes, that's what I want to do, but sometimes I will talk about my kids because they're really good kids. Yes, they have pushed our limits. Yes, we have had difficulties, but they're really good compared to some that I've been around and the things you hear. And I want to brag about them a little bit, I guess. It's not, but I don't want to be like a braggart, I don't want to be sinful in it, but they're really good and I'm proud of them. And it's kind of hard. It is God that did that, because I don't know how that happened. I don't know why my children are that way, because I messed up a lot. But anyway, let me go ahead and finish reading this. But for as much as he had not to pay, wait a minute, yes, his Lord commanded him to be sold, and his wife and his children and all that he had, and payment to be made. The servant therefore fell down, worshipped him, saying, Lord, have patience with me, and I will pay thee all. Then the Lord of that servant was moved with compassion, and loosed him, and forgave him the debt. But the same servant went out and found one of his fellow servants, which ought him 100 pence. And he laid hands on him, and took him by the throat, saying, Pay me that thou owest. And his fellow servant fell down at his feet, and besought him, saying, Have patience with me, and I will pay thee all. And he would not. He went and cast him into prison till he should pay the debt. So it goes on more about, that's the unforgiving servant. So that, to me, it's like, okay, God forgave me. It's like I'm kind of that unforgiving servant. Like I'm kind of that guy who God let go, but then I went out and wouldn't forgive myself. And this dude is prideful. Val, this dude is real prideful, because he's going out and he's throwing somebody else in prison whenever he was just let go, and this guy didn't know him. And I'm like, that, and you saying that made me think about that even more. That I'm like that servant who didn't forgive. So I've got to work on that. I've got to work on forgiving myself. And that is why that this hit me so hard today. And that's why I wanted to talk about it. And I don't even know if Donna's here because she's not been feeling well. Y'all keep her in your prayers, and her niece as well, because Donna has not been well lately. She's had different things happening. Let's see. Mark 11:26. I already read that one. And then John 20:23. Whosoever sins ye remit, they are remitted unto them, and whosoever sins ye retain, they are retained. So the note says, God does not forgive people's sins because we do so, nor does he withhold forgiveness because we do. Rather, those who proclaim the gospel are in effect forgiving or not forgiving sins, depending on whether the hearers accept Jesus Christ. Yeah. There's someone else I want y'all to pray for. Since we're talking about that, I don't know if y'all know Calvin and Marie from Southern Country Living. Calvin just had surgery last week. And I don't exactly know how bad it is or anything, but he has, I want to say it's esophageal cancer, and he's fixing to start chemo and radiation. He had surgery to have a port put in and have a feeding tube put in. So y'all keep them in your prayers too. And if you don't watch Southern Country Living, go check them out because they're lovely people. They're from Georgia. They're lovely. They're just so sweet. They're a cute little couple. But yeah, keep them in your prayers too. And I could probably name more, but right now, like I said, pray for my head to stop hurting so bad. I don't know if it was allergies or what. Oh, your daddy has it now, Val? Oh, had. See, my daddy did too. But by the time they found it in his esophagus, it had gotten to his lungs, and it was just too much. And he fought it for 2 years almost. So just, and whenever they said that he had that, which I don't comment a lot on everybody's videos, and I watch them, they probably don't even know I'm there, but whenever, because I've been watching them for like almost 2 years, I think, but it's like you get to know people that you're watching, it's that kind of thing. And whenever he said that, it stunned me. I was just, it's like, it's something that, like he was family, that kind of thing. And I was like, oh no, please don't let him find it anywhere else. And they did test, I think, for other places, but because it brought me back to that place where that they found it in Daddy's esophagus first, and it was like not a big deal. They could get rid of it easy. And then they found it. They did a PET scan and found it other places. So yeah, keep everybody in your prayers. Keep Judy and David in your prayers. They're starting their training next Monday. I'll have the kids. Oh, and I will not be doing, I know I said it last week, but I will not be doing next week's Bible study because I'll have the kids. And while they're here, they have to do school. He since passed away from. My daddy will be this year. Oh my goodness, why can't I do math right now? I'll have to do it this way because I can't do math right now. $16 years. I wanted to say 16, but I wasn't. I didn't want to be wrong. I don't know why. It matters, but it doesn't. I mean, it's been a long time since my daddy passed, but it has been 16 years. This August will be. Let me go on to this because I don't have much more time and I got to go get Selena. Acts 7:54 through 60. And this is talking about the stoning of Stephen. When they had heard these things, they were cut to the heart, and they gnashed on him with their teeth. But he, being full of the Holy Ghost, looked up steadfastly into heaven and saw the glory of God, and Jesus standing on the right hand of God. And he said, Behold, I see the heavens open, and the Son of Man standing on the right hand of God. Then they cried out with a loud voice and stopped their ears and ran upon him with one accord. And they cast him out of the city and stoned him. And the witnesses laid down their clothes at the young man's feet, whose name was Saul. And they stoned Stephen, calling upon God and saying, Lord Jesus, receive my spirit. And he kneeled down and cried with a loud voice, Lord, lay not this sin to their charge. And when he had said this, he fell asleep. Stephen forgave them before he died. He forgave them while they were murdering him. And these people were blind. They didn't know what they were doing. They were blind. They didn't have God. Even Saul was there. And, when I read that before, I kind of had the thought, I wonder why that Saul was there. Is that the reason why did that start Saul seeing something? Was it something that, that had to happen for Saul to become Paul and to write so much of the New Testament? You know what I'm saying? But this whole little devotional that took less than 10 minutes to read brought so many thoughts to my mind and convicted me about my unforgiveness toward myself. Not to others, because I don't think that there's anybody I haven't forgiven, because I don't feel any kind of way towards anyone. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel like I haven't forgiven anyone. It's just myself that I haven't. And I think that might be the hardest, but I'm going to check that. I'm going to try to find that book. Val's going to have me on thrift books today. Not till after I go get Selena. But it makes me wonder, with the fact that, I know that there are things in my past that I had no control over, that I don't have to forgive myself for because they weren't anything I'd done to myself. But there are things in my past that I did that I didn't realize were wrong until after I gave my life to God. Whenever I started serving God, that is when I started realizing how messed up I was and how many things I did that harmed others that I love and harmed myself. And there's times whenever I feel like, oh, well, yeah, I've forgiven myself. But if I had really forgiven myself, I don't think that these things would have the same effect on me over and over. And at one part, I thought, well, maybe they have this effect, so I won't do it again. That kind of thing. I would be more than happy to read through that book with you, like read a chapter and discuss. Maybe you can do a book club live. I have thought about doing a live book club because I thought that would be really fun. There's also ways that you can have multiple people in a live, because I've done that before. And multiple people can be on screen. I don't really know how to do it exactly now. I know you can on Instagram, but I haven't tried to do it, like invite somebody else to the stream or anything like that. But yeah, I'm gonna have to see if I can find that book. And the Denise Renner, actually, this is her. So I'm gonna put this website. I don't know what it's about. I've not looked at it, but this is her, because Who Stole Cinderella? The Art of Happily Ever After is a book that she wrote. And I want to say that, let me pull up my YouVersion app. I want to say that plan that I just finished had something to do dealing with me. School of Cinderella. Yes, it's the same exact person. Yes, it is. Renter.org. Okay, so I'm gonna put her. Hey, storm, calm down. So I slept. So I'm late. Slept to after 3 too. Well, Donna, I don't know if this one is going to be one that is going to be what you wanted, but maybe it will help you. What's the name of your friend's channel again? I will let me just find their channel and I will link it. I mean, they don't even know me. They don't know me. I've talked to them like in the comments and stuff. They don't know me. But it's Calvin and Marie. And I'm going to put their, let's see, where is the share parts? I know it's here because I've done it before. Let me just do this. Okay. I will put it here. But yeah, there's their channel. And I'll put it in the other two. Let's see. I know they've watched some of my videos, but they don't know me. They don't even know I'm there most of the time, because a lot of times whenever I'm watching people on YouTube, I'm not sitting down and commenting because I'm doing something else. I'm washing dishes or, well, like doing kitchen stuff most of the time, or I'm folding clothes or something that doesn't make a lot of noise that I can hear, but I can still, watch. A lot of times, if I do comment, it's because I'm sitting here editing and I'm waiting on a video to render and finish it up or upload or something. And that's when I'm watching the people that I comment on. And sometimes I don't get to comment then. So it's like, that's when I comment, is whenever I'm doing sit down work at the computer most of the time. So most people don't even know I'm there. I'm just stalking them. I'm just hanging out on their channel and they don't even know it. I'm getting to know them, but they don't know me. But yeah, this little devotion that I did today, and like I said, this is not even what I planned on talking about today. I plan on talking about mothers because Mother's Day is coming Sunday. I didn't plan this, but whenever I read that this morning, I was like, oh my goodness, this is what I've been trying to figure out how to say. This is because when Donna had asked about it, I didn't really, I could look up all kinds of scriptures that have the word forgiveness in it. I could have put something together, but that just, I don't know, it hit me different. And now I've got a lot of work to do on myself because it's just something that it just hit me different. And it made me think more about what I'm doing because I'm not releasing myself. And I don't think that there's anyone that I haven't forgiven. But if there is, I need to release them. I need to, like I said, I always have heard whenever you don't forgive somebody, it's hurting yourself more than them. But I don't think that's true. Yeah, it hurts them because it's not letting God do his work. Because we're not doing what God said. God said for us to forgive 7 times 70. And I don't know, it was just really good. God's timing in the sanctification process is perfect. Your honesty is what the community of believers need. I pray all the time, and I think I pray that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. They do a fourth step, which is helpful in figuring out resentments. I don't see that I resent anyone. I haven't, I mean, because I'm pretty okay most of the time. Yeah, I have thoughts sometimes that, like, from my past that will come into my mind. But those things, usually whenever it comes to my mind, it's like God reminded me that I came from that place. But I don't ever feel anger. I don't feel bad towards the person if there's someone else involved. You know what I'm saying? It's only mainly myself. And that, Donna, that is why this was so hard, because you said that you wanted to talk about forgiving yourself. And I was like, that's just hard. Yeah. And I don't feel like anything from my past, and that's the only thing I can go by. I don't think there's anything that's not resolved other than working through the things that I've done. And nobody can help with that except God. And actually, Jesus has done everything that needs to be done. I just have to. It's like this, and I know this kind of sounds really weird. We have to allow Jesus to work in our lives, because I have said it so many times. Jesus is a gentleman. He's not going to push his way in. He's not going to force us to do anything at all. He's going to let us do what we want to do because he is a gentleman. And gentlemen do not push people around. They don't make you do anything. They let you do what you want to do, in most cases, I would say. I'm sure that Jesus is not going to let me do something that's going to hurt anyone, or, we do not need to shut the door on him, or we have to do our part. And we have to do our part. Right. We have to do our part. And if I don't do my part, I'm stopping what he wants. And, it makes me wonder, what else has he got for me? What have I been stopping all this time? All these years that I have held unforgiveness for myself. And I know, maybe it's not exactly all unforgiveness. Maybe it's just something that God needs to take me through. But I know some of it's unforgiveness, Some of it is something I need to work through. And it's not anything that's major, but it doesn't matter. Even minor things can become really big things. But it was like something that was just totally different today, that I felt different when I read that. And like I said, I have done this devotion. This is the 5th day. It was the last day. I think it was 5 days. I've read it every day, different parts of it. But this part is the only part that really just kind of, it's like one of those things that almost slaps you in the face and makes you think, oh my God, it's an eye-opener, as they say. It's an eye-opener. But it was good, and I hope that y'all got something from it as well as I know I got something from it. But what I got is God saying, girl, you need to work on some things. But I want everyone to know I'm not perfect, and I never will be. And I know that there's people who have made the, assumption that my life is perfect and all this stuff. It's not. Nobody's life is perfect. And even though that everything may look right on the outside, there's a lot of turmoil in people. And we all have to pray for each other and help each other through it whenever that someone comes to them and asks for help. But with this one, it's going to be all me. I've got to do my part. But it was something that was good, I think. And I want to now go and see if, like, check her books out to see what they're all about. Because as I said, I still read books on parenting even though my children are 22 and 23 years old. Because you're still parenting adults. They're still in my house too. But I mean, not as much as I used to read books on parenting. But I read books that are about lots of things. I read articles. Mostly, I've been trying not to buy as many books because I did at one point. I had a habit of buying books that I thought would be good and then not reading them. They were like in my to be read pile. So I've decided that any book that I ever get has to be highly recommended by someone that I know. It has to be something that is something I'm interested in, that I know for a fact I'm interested in, not just something that I think would be kind of neat, that kind of thing. And it has to be something that's going to further me in some way or has helped others that I know. But that's why I said Val's recommendation, because I trust her. And she said if it was something she enjoyed, then it's probably something I'll enjoy. But yeah, I've got to go get Selena. And I don't even know if I told y'all. I mean, I know I said something about her working last week, but it's part-time. It might be, we don't know how long it's going to be that she's going to do this. It might be just a little while. It might be just, But, yeah. I got to go get her. Which she's only like 2 minutes away. She could walk home, but no. It's almost 90 degrees. And I don't know what the humidity is, but my baby girl is not going to walk out there. Not today. Especially since there are there's been 2 murderers, from what I understand, escaped in Alabama recently. So y'all be praying about that too. Pray that these people get caught. If they have not been already, I don't think they have been yet. I don't understand how that works. How they can just, how murderers can be somehow in some kind of program where they could get loose easily. I don't know. Anyways, why are they not guarded better? I don't know. I don't know anything about any of that stuff, but it makes me a little bit more watchful. I'll put it that way. It's only 50 there? Yeah, there's 2 murderers, 2 that have escaped in the last few weeks, or last couple weeks, and as far as I know, they have not been caught. I haven't looked at anything today. Hopefully they have been. But yeah, it's 88 degrees right now. I don't know what the humidity is. Let me see if this thing will tell me. Woo, you're tickling me, cat. Feels like 88. That's what it says. And there's a 20% chance of precipitation. Yeah, it is on national news. The humidity is 47. The dew point is 63. I still don't know what that means. If anybody else does, feel free to share. So, yes, I should watch the news sometimes. I don't really watch the news that much, but I know the one guy who escaped. They said that he had a guard. I guess he kidnapped her. I don't know. But yeah, Daisy just tickled my leg. She walked in front of me and she tickled my leg, and I said her name, so she came back. What are you doing, silly cat? All right, so I'm going to go, and I try not to watch too much. Yeah, I try not to either, because there's some frightening stuff. There's some stuff that make me angry. And most of the time, I just let Jeff tell me what he thinks I need to know about. That's what I do. And I know that might sound horrible or crazy or, but he knows what I need to know. And it doesn't bother him to read certain things or to see certain things. But I'm going to go. I will see you guys next time. I do have videos this week. But, I will not be here next Tuesday. The babies will all be here. Oh, did I ever finish what I was saying about them? They're having to do schoolwork while they're here this time because it's still school time and they're going to be doing virtual. So while they're here, that's priority. School and then play. Just like at home. But I heard about the escapist who took off with the security guard, but they made it sound like they were in it. Some people are saying they are. Some people are saying they're not. I don't know. I've heard it both ways. Thank you, Val. Pray for me for next week because I haven't done any schooling or helped with school in quite a while. My children graduated several years ago. I shouldn't have to help, and they do have access to their teachers. So, at least as far as I know, they do. It shouldn't be that difficult, though, because they're doing it all online. And my kids didn't do online stuff. So, I mean, they did a little bit. But all right, well, I will see y'all next time. Remember, Calvin and Marie and everybody, just everybody. Remember everybody in your prayers. And, yeah, I'll see y'all later. Thanks for watching. And remember, don't take any wooden nickels and be sweet.